Mrs Broad.
Thank you, Acting President. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to speak about the Statewide Treaty Bill 2025. And firstly, I would like to thank all those who have written or contacted me about the Statewide Treaty Bill. I've heard from people with very different perspectives. Some have emailed, they've written a letter, sent a postcard, and others I've spoken to directly. And today we've heard different perspectives discussed in this chamber as well. We've seen democracy in action, different members representing different perspectives and expressing those views in Parliament. And we will soon vote. But today I'm reminded of the values that members of Parliament are to demonstrate when they carry out their public duty. The members' statement of values. It says members should demonstrate the following values in carrying out their public duties: serving the public interest, upholding democracy, integrity, accountability, respect for the diversity of views and backgrounds within the Victorian community, diligence and leadership. And today is an especially important day as we consider what I view to be legislation that presents the biggest change to our system of government in the history of this chamber. Sometimes I dislike the battle of politics because in the fight we lose sight of what we share. And I hope that today people will see what we are standing for, not just what we are standing against. I believe there is some common ground that all sides of this chamber want to support Indigenous people, to address the challenges that do exist, but our approaches are very different. And I know that there are a number of people that do want to see change, who may not be across the details of the legislation that are before us today. Now, I stand opposed to this bill because of what I believe and the values that drive my commitment to this role, to this chamber and to the people of my electorate. I'm reminded of the passage about the Good Samaritan in the Bible, where a man was robbed and left for dead. He was ignored by a couple of different people who passed by, and it was the one least likely to help that went out of his way to assist. And Jesus was asked, "Who is my neighbour?" The one who had mercy on him, and he challenged us to do the same. The Good Samaritan breaks down the barriers of race and it focuses on need, regardless of someone's background. It's that same equality before the law that has been the foundation of our success as a democracy and as a nation, and we should protect it. What is the end goal of this legislation? Where will it take us? As we've heard during the debate today, this is just the first treaty. There will be more to come. And I've already raised concerns in this chamber about land use activity agreements, which have caused many issues in my electorate, and the lack of transparency and accountability throughout that process. And then the news today, St Vincent Hospital, which has been fast-tracking care for Indigenous patients. The Premier, Jacinta Allen, has called it a good example of healthcare leadership. Patients were seen within 30 minutes and put ahead of semi-urgent cases. There were more than 17,000 patients in the year to June. And I think we should all be concerned when someone, because of their race, is given more rights or privileges than another. We've seen the damage it's done in the past, and as we've heard in the chamber, it's important to learn from history. This bill establishes a vastly different system of law and regulations that separates Victorians based on race. We live in a multicultural society and we should celebrate that. People of all different backgrounds bring in their unique attributes to create a stronger community. We've been down this road before with a federal referendum on the voice to Parliament. At the time, there was a lack of community support. At the referendum, Australians voted against the voice to Parliament, including in Bendigo, where 60% of people voted no. Yet this legislation goes even further than the voice. And it's important to highlight the inherent risks to Victoria's system of government that will be undermined if this bill is passed. It sets up a new authority that sits outside of Parliament or ministerial responsibility. Through treaty, the state Labor government is legislating a new statutory body with ongoing and increasing funding outside of the normal budgetary process. Neither the Premier, Minister nor Treasurer has any control as to how that money is spent. The proposed authority sets its own rules, is answerable to itself and given substantial public funding without ministerial oversight. The proposed bill provides a body of power to an independent body with far-reaching powers that undermine existing parliamentary processes and practice, and provides exemption from the Public Administration Act 2004, which sets employment standards in line with the public service. Now, I'm a member of the Scrutiny of Acts and Regulations Committee, and I want to highlight some of the issues identified in the committee report. And to quote, "Gaelle is not subject to the direction or control of the Minister in respect of the performance of its functions and the exercise of its powers." Part 3 establishes the First Peoples Assembly as a central decision-making arm of Gaelle. The First Peoples Assembly is self-determining and deliberative, with the power to do all things that are necessary or convenient to be done for or in connection with the performance of its functions. Its functions include, among other matters, to represent First Peoples and make decisions in relation to First Peoples, make internal rules, substantive rules, guidelines and standards. The bill limits the accountability of the proposed body to the Parliament, and key terms such as entity are not defined, as noted in the committee report. And I quote, "The Minister may request in writing the First Peoples Assembly to provide information or advice. The First Peoples Assembly may choose to respond. Restricted information must not be disclosed to another arm of Gaelle unless the entity which gave the information to the respective arm, i.e. the First Peoples Assembly," and it goes on to talk about the term entity is not defined, as I said before, but used throughout the bill in many provisions. The proposed bill also establishes powers for the Assembly to determine separate rules. And I quote, "It requires the First Peoples Assembly to establish standards of conduct which define and manage potential misconduct processes must be developed to address matters of alleged misconduct and serious misconduct. An allegation of misconduct or serious misconduct by a Gaelle official is to be dealt with in accordance with the internal rules." Now, this bill grants exemptions to paying land tax and payroll tax. The proposed body will also be granted more exemptions from freedom of information laws of Victorian ministers. The bill also amends the definition of public record to exclude Gaelle records that are culturally sensitive or secret. The Liberals and Nationals do not support this approach and remain committed to governing for all Victorians. And this is our recommendation, that the state government not proceed with this direction. And I want to thank Melina Barth, my Nationals colleague and Shadow Minister for Aboriginal Affairs, who has been across the state meeting with people to find a better way forward. Our approach is for a dedicated resource that is focused on practical solutions to help close the gap. It's a practical approach that seeks to work with local communities to bring about positive change and improved services. My son is doing Year 12 exams today, had one today, and he was recently interviewed by the school with the close of Year 12 about what advice he would give to his younger self. And he said to play the long game, not the short game. Now today, I think we all need to consider the long game. We have a responsibility to think long term. What is the best for the future of our state? And what will be said in future when we look back on the decisions that we are making today? There is a better way to support reconciliation, and it's by bringing people together, not through further division. Thank you.
Mr Talamis.